great circle of life, it doesn't exist anymore.
What about getting hit by a
It's
shark?
fine.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame.
You need to get some conkers in the room.
I was going to name him.
Oh, you could have women. I don't know what people.
Oh, we've got a cat.
You got a cat.
Cheltenham's got a cat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
well.
I
Yeah,
don't
because
like
you can have it to say
there's a
this.
lady who lived in one of the houses and she sadly died like 15 years ago. Bob was just left alone, so he came in the training and she's been here ever since. He's not in a good way at the moment because I think he's been sleeping on like some pipe for years.
He does look a bit grumpy.
Yeah, he's not in the best way.
I like dogs, but cats.
Yeah.
Oh, cats are brilliant.
Really? What do you think?
You had one of those
Just loves
cats with no hair.
Yeah.
The Sphinx cats, they always live attacked drink twice.
Cats are brilliant when they're yours. Just you can't. They're obviously not very rude.
My best
Strangers,
friend's cats were scared of me. They leave me alone till
yeah, but they don't like strangers. But when they're your cat, they give so much love.
You're a cat lover.
Well, I've had both.
I'm a
I
dog
love
lover.
both.
Only dogs.
I'm
I find
saying
it hilarious that like your dog is more intentional to go around with than does her. She sleeps like that.
My best friend calls me over to go with the dog so that he can sleep for the rest of the day. So he can sleep for the rest of the day. Because he's still at 4:30. So he needs her now. Otherwise, like, he'll cry at night.
Interesting.
When the puppies don't cry at night, don't they? They get attachment disorders. They get sad because they think that we've like abandoned them. Yeah. It's like when you have a baby, the babies cry so often because if they can't see you, if they've got short eyesight, they think that they're making you sick. Dogs are the same. That's why so many dogs have depressed offspring. Exactly. Most just wild people never
He can't see.
It's all about that.
Yeah. Is he still?
Did that not make sense? That makes sense.
Guys.
Recording in progress.
How are you?
I'm fine. Surviving. That's what we're all doing. Afternoon to those of you joining us on the call. As ever, we'll kick off in the room, and if we do have time, we'll come across to Zoom. But as mentioned, we'll begin here at the training ground with Gail from Sky Sports News.
Good afternoon, Jonas. Can you just give us a little bit of an update on some of your players on the way back and some concerns? I think Laura left on crutches, didn't she, last weekend, and where Leah is, and also Steph Catley, whether we might see her this weekend.
So yeah, Laura unfortunately couldn't start the game against Leicester. There was an incident in the warm-up. It's not a major injury. It's a minor injury, but it does make her unavailable here for the weekend. Then we have players returning and progressing really well, and I think both Leah Williamson and Steph Catley has the possibility to make the squad here in the weekend game. So that's obviously positive news for us.
When you looked back at that Leicester game, how did you feel about the performance? It's a little bit, I guess, of a hard watch for you, but on the other side of that, you think back to last season and maybe those games against West Ham and Tottenham, and you did at least this time come away with a win.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of positives in that game. There are things that we should be doing better as well. We're playing that game under, of course, tough circumstances, playing a huge game for us in the Champions League on the Thursday night, which obviously took both a lot of physical and mental focus, and then have to refocus and recharge from an away game on Sunday against a tough Leicester team that's had a whole week of preparation and setting up tricky situations for us. So I'm under no illusion that this is a very competitive WSL season, and we will need to be at our best, and we will need to find ways to win, and we were doing exactly that on Sunday, and those are the positives that I'm going to focus on, and knowing that there will be games that things will flow a little bit easier for us as well. But that's the thing during the season. If you want to be successful, if you want to be consistent, you need to find ways to win under all those circumstances.
Talking of fixtures and cancellations and having to have very limited prep time, what have you made of the whole situation of Chelsea having their game cancelled? They then play Tuesday, you've got a huge game against them on the weekends, you'll have maybe one training session when you get back from Bayern. In a time when we're trying to make the best possible spectacle of football, is this working? What would you like to see looked at in the future, maybe to prevent this happening?
You're right, it's not a good situation, and I mean, I have a quiz for you guys. There are 16 teams involved in the Champions League group stage. How many of the teams are playing on Sunday the 6th of October? Is there anyone of you who knows how many of the 16 teams that are playing on the Sunday?
Just no Bayern on.
None.
Well, we are, so that's one. That's
But no one
that's
else.
sort of a lead. And if it only would be us, it would be an Arsenal problem, but it's also Manchester City playing. So it tells you that the only two teams that are playing are English teams. The only other team that was scheduled to play on the Sunday was Chelsea. So out of the 16 teams, 13 teams were scheduled to play on the Friday or Saturday, and the 3 English teams were all scheduled to play on the Sunday. With each team of those having a 50% chance or risk, depending on how you see it, to play their game on the Tuesday. That has been the information that has been there for months. That we have a league organization that doesn't act proactively on these matters. It's damaging for the fans. And I mean, getting postponed games as supporters, and this time it doesn't concern Arsenal fans, but it does concerns fans to other clubs in the league, and I think the fans are the backbone to what we're trying to build, and one of the biggest reasons to what we're doing, why we are, and I think that is simply unacceptable to sort of having people's money and time being treated in that way beforehand, and it's simply not good enough from the league. Then you come to the second part and saying, do the league want the English club teams to be successful at European level? And I would hope the answer to that would be yes, but the actions shows differently. It shows that this is not one of their priorities to have the club teams to be successful, and I think that is very negative for English women's club football, because it's very important that this is the first time in the group stage that 3 teams reach the group stage, and that should be something that we celebrate, instead of it becomes a problem. And I know this time it's us, it's Chelsea, it's City, but actually it's very important for the whole league that we are successful in Europe because we can improve the coefficient. It's gonna mean for seasons to come that it also gets better for other English teams that qualify for the European tournaments. And then my third thing with this is that now obviously it's even worse for us because of this amateurish behavior with not having a proactive plan and taking away a game like Chelsea's and postpone that. It now puts us into a situation where we play Sunday, then we play Wednesday away against Bayern Munich, who doesn't play Sunday because they of course play Saturday because they have a league organization that sees the value of getting their club teams a better position. And then we return playing Saturday against Emirates or against Chelsea at Emirates, and we have considerably less preparation time than the opponent. So we'll be having this handling the sporting disadvantage in two huge games for us. Now, you know me, and even better, you know my players and team. We're not the team that's going to lie down and give up just because situations are tough. We're going to dig deeper than we have ever done before, and we're going to try and fuel our performances from that. But what needs to change? I think the approach to the Champions League football and the proactiveness and with the respect to the supporters, it has to change. And it's not good enough to blame it on UEFA because everyone across Europe has had the same information for so long time, and the only one that hasn't acted on that information is the WSL.
That's clear. Can I just ask you as well about your goalkeeping situation? Obviously, Daphne came on for her debut, finished as player of the match. Clearly, fantastic performance from her. Talk to us about the dynamics between your two goalkeepers and what their strengths are and how you're going to go about using them this season. Do you have a number one, or is it sort of similar to what happened with Rhea and Ramsdale? Are you going to keep it open and see what happens?
It's not a new situation for me having competition on the goalkeeping position. I think we have had that in all seasons that I've been here. Now how it works with goalkeepers is that sometimes it's a very strong fit against a specific opponent. Sometimes it's about getting the rhythm and building the relationships with one goalkeeper and the defending line. And those are all things to take into the considerations. But right now the season is young. We have a lot of football ahead of us, and I'm just really happy that I have lots of good choices on the goalkeeping position.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gail. Ian from TalkSport.
Hi, Jonas, how are you?
I'm fine.
If I can just take you back to the European situation, is part of the problem with Arsenal the fact that you're now playing all your games at the Emirates? I mean, you couldn't play tonight because the men's team played tomorrow. You can't play tomorrow because the men's team played tomorrow. So you've got to play Sunday.
Well, I think the problem is the proactiveness about what you do and have a plan for if different scenarios come about. As I said before, there was a 50% risk or chance to be playing on Tuesday, which would rule out the possibility to play your game on Sunday. Now, if you have that in your planning scenario, of course now you need to have a plan B. What happens if you play on Tuesday? And if you don't have a clear answer to that, you have a problem. That's the league's problem.
What was your clear answer? Because you've moved away from Bournemouth because you've outgrown that, which I get, and I think you ought to be congratulated for playing all your games in the main stadium. But at some stage, that might become a problem.
But I mean, you have plenty of different solutions that you could do. You can have alternative playing dates. You could have, that would probably be my number one suggestion, to have alternative playing dates, and just making sure that if this game comes here, then we would move it here.
But it doesn't, I mean, even in men's football, in the Champions League, Aston Villa this year. You know, we've never had that in this country whereby the governing body for men's or women's football has ever really considered, have they, teams playing in Europe?
Because I might be wrong informed, but I think the case is that if you get drawn one certain day in Champions League and that gets too close to your game in the league, you automatically move your game.
Yeah, but it's never been called off, that's what I'm saying. This is the first time for either men's or women's football we've seen it being called off. We've seen abroad teams being given a free weekend to prepare for European football, but not in this country. You're asking for the same in this country, correct?
I'm asking for an approach of having solutions when a situation arises instead of sticking your hand in the sand and think the problem is going to disappear from that. And if you ask me for what approach I like to have the solution orientated. The problem doesn't disappear because you ignore it. And the problem in this case was that it was ignored despite it was a significant risk of this situation happening, which it did. And I think there would have been solutions. To your point, there's probably going to be a lot of creative thinking sometimes to find those solutions. But I'm sure the club and the league would have worked that out if you're giving enough time and finding those solutions.
Just one more on problems and solutions then. You suffered it a lot last year, quite a lot of clubs did, ACL injuries to players. Everton have already had 2 players in successive weeks ruled out with ACL injuries. Why is the women's game no nearer solving the problem of why the